Have you seen The Woman King?
No, not yet.
You said no with such a with a voice as though you may not see it.
I wasn't planning on it at first, but then
I think
I gotta talk about it eventually, so I'm gonna have to go see it.
I went to go see
So
it. We'll talk about it, man.
okay, okay,
I
but
don't have bad things to say about it.
you say you don't?
I don't.
Okay,
I
that's
don't.
fine. I'll say it like I told the boys. If I could watch Elvis and just watch it as a movie and separate it out from the situation, then I could probably enjoy anything. Cause that was a chore. I had to talk myself down as I watched that movie, and it was just mainly so I could discuss it. But like I said, do I agree with what was said? No. Was it a clean, cool movie? Yes, it was. But
You talking about Elvis?
yeah, it was clean. It was really clean.
If you say so, I might give it a shot. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of Elvis.
I kind of grew up watching his movies coming on TV as a kid, and
Yeah.
Little Rascals and Shirley Temple, all that stuff. You come on a normal basis, and in the morning time when cartoons wasn't coming on, so you would kind of just grew up seeing those movies and stuff. And so, I didn't really think nothing about him until later on when Public Enemy came out.
Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant shit to me. You see, straight out racist, that sucker was simple and plain. Motherfucking in John Wayne.
And mentioned, him and John Wayne. It's just like, let me rethink this guy I grew up seeing all the time on TV, and gave me a whole different perspective on all the stuff that comes with him and his legacy. So yeah, but I thought it was very interesting that even though I don't, now that I'm older and kind of know more about what's going on, my feelings have changed about him. But was that a good movie? Oh yeah, it was a really good movie, and I would only hope that the black musicians that we know of that get movies made about them, the same rose-colored glasses they had to write and direct that movie for that guy, have that same energy for Whitney, had that same energy for Michael, had that same energy for Prince. Like, I don't want to see all the when something crazy came up with Elvis that was kind of questionable, they cut to something else, or it only was on there for 30 seconds. Give that same energy and get to the good part. Don't lean in on stuff. If drugs are never said but insinuate the same thing when it comes to our legends. Don't play.
I think that is an interesting point about how his death is viewed as a medical emergency, like a natural causes thing. But Whitney is, and yeah, like you said, Whitney, Mike, and Prince are all just, been blackwashed.
Yeah, I don't want to see no 3-hour Michael Jackson movie talking about he was a drug addict and he wrote Thriller. Don't do it.
Yeah. I honestly don't care who they put in the role. It doesn't have to be an African American.
I agree with that, but we're in a time now where it's almost like how you be saying about, like, you can make a statement, but it could be used for the wrong reason or the wrong side.
Yeah.
I want the same disclaimer when I'm about to say this.
Okay.
We are in a time where they figure just for, political correctness, a movie about a woman, it gotta be a woman director. If it's about a man, a black man, it gotta be a black man director. The truth is, like you said, I just want a good person who's gonna do a great job. And then the truth is, a lot of these characters were created by white people anyway.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away the fact that a lot of black folks' ideas and art and talent fed into these characters to make them even more than what they had started off as. So I'm not taking away that. But yeah, I wouldn't care if it was a white guy or I just want a good director. I just want somebody who's going to write a good story. And sometimes it's a lot of talented black folks out there, but are they used? Do they got a chance to shine? They got a chance to, to tighten up their skills and all that kind of stuff? No. So sometimes other people are better just because they had more opportunities and experiences. And it's just a time thing and an access thing more so than it's truly talent. And so
that's interesting. Do you side on the comments that were made by Tyler Perry, or if you're an Alanta fan, Mr. Chocolate? His comments were taken out of context, but the headline was, Tyler Perry wants to make sure that black actors and young black directors and writers aren't put in the wrong position too soon for the wrong reason. But it's scary coming from someone with as much power
Yeah, but it's kind of like what I said and why I gave the disclaimer for saying something like that. Because I think that's true. I think it's kind of like what I'm saying. And the funny thing about it, I knew he was in trouble for something, but I never really looked into it because I'm not really a big fan of his. So just like I kind of avoid his movies, I kind of also avoid any kind of stuff that comes up with him.
Now, did you see the latest episode as we're talking? I think it'll be like episode this last season of Atlanta. I believe it's episode 6. I'm not sure.
Not yet. I gotta get caught up on this season.
So get caught up on this season. This season is worth it.
Okay.
In comparison to like a lot of people feel like last season wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I felt like last season was perfect, but this season is a continuation. I feel like it's closing out. I have my theory, a fan theory on Atlanta that I believe that we're marching closer to, and it's becoming a very popular fan theory. That Atlanta is a simulation, that we will kind of just that it is actually it's a deeper, not a deeper story, but there's something else behind the curtain.
So that would explain the invisible car in the parking lot on season 1. These little weird things that just kind of happen out of
weird glitches.
That's just like, wait a minute, and people acting like it's normal. Like they're pointing at the wrong thing when the thing is right there in front of you, and they're pointing away.
Yeah,
a lot of side stuff.
The entire show, written from beginning to end by this genius.
Interesting.
And we're fascinated by how hilarious it was, and he did just what he was supposed to do. You title it something like that, you make the subject matter about it, and you think it's about something else, and then it becomes openly, just like blatantly clear, oh, this is something else.
Right.
What was it? Was it season 3 with the one character where Darius goes up to pick up the piano?
Yep, Mr. Perkins or something like that.
Yeah. It's stuff like that. There's so many different things that go on this show.
Yeah.
And once again, this is what happens when the two of us get together. We're talking about Atlanta right now. But yeah.
Tangent.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But back to your question about Tyler Perry and what he said. If that's what he said, then yeah, I get it. And it's a tricky way to say that, because almost the same thing with all the stuff like, a lot of stuff is opportunity for optics, and I know it. And it's not to say that people don't deserve to be there, because they do, but it is a thing of, you just need that token in there. And so it might not be anything past what they look like versus are they really right for the job. That's almost kind of like with certain people, like it's almost the same thing how people get mad about actors who want to be a singer. It's just like you kind of get away with stuff because of your other persona. It's not that you necessarily, like Michael Jordan trying to play baseball. If anybody saw him play baseball, they knew he wasn't good at baseball. But since they knew what he could do and who he was, they let him in that door. That's like having writers on comic books that wasn't necessarily comic book writers, but they are great writers in other situations. And they say, oh, come over here. And just because they were a good writer writing a novel or a story or whatever doesn't mean that they'd necessarily be a good comic book writer. But they were just kind of letting people in a way because they knew it looked good for optics. But was it the best thing for the comics? It depends on if you like the stories or not. And so I think it's tricky. But then also when you do that and it's not the right fit and time taken to kind of make sure that they are, I guess, if you're looking for a black person and the right person, because what happens is when you just let people in because of what they look like or whatever, or to meet a quota, and they fail, it looks as if, like black folks was incompetent.
And I think that's Tyler. That was his main point. Tyler Perry's main point was that he wants to facilitate and create space for proper timing and training. Yeah. And I think that the big thing that he can get criticized for and people are scared of is that once you enter close to that, now I know he's not like in general upper 1%, but let's just talk about he's upper 1% as it pertains to the entertainment industry, as far as African Americans in the entertainment industry type, So when someone has that much power, and especially the amount of control that he claims to have over every last single one of his IPs, like he claims to write all of the shows,
right?
And that in itself sounds horrible to me. I've always kind of said that, like, I really hope that this man is not really writing all of these scripts.
I believe it, because it makes sense of why it's all consistently kind of awful.
And
but people like it.
some of them get better. Like I understand. So for example, I was when I listened to Shonda Rhimes' masterclass, she is never in a writing room like that. You know, beginning of the season, she's throwing them concepts for the year.
Okay.
And she's trusting the writing room that she put together. She's the greatest television creator of all time. There's not another person that I could ever put in Shonda Rhimes' category of greatness when it comes to television. Not one. And there's some people you could throw out there, but
Dick Wolf.
You said Dick Wolf. Yes, Dick Wolf. But there's a handful of other people who there's a list of black writers and creators who are like, oh, he stole that from me. I don't even like mentioning them. But there's three people when you think of who are the greats.
David E. Kelly.
I still don't, not Shonda Rhimes though.
Okay.
This is just me with.
I know. I'm just messing with you. But those are television show producers that really like their work.
Yeah, and Dick Wolf. I have to go back and I'll put to you like this when it comes to Dick Wolf. I don't really know much outside of one particular way of like, I know it's a Dick Wolf show before it even, I see it at the end, but a lot of his shows are kind of the same. Yeah. Same thing could be said about Shonda Rhimes though. So
that's how it is. That's almost your style. Like, like movie studios, when I see the Focus Film logo or Blumhouse, I know what that means. But that's why people go back too, because they want this different but the same.
Yeah. So when it comes to Tyler Perry making this statement, it was about a month ago, where he makes this statement where he's talking at the Toronto Film Festival about, like more training's needed, more time is needed, because his fear is that when they're creating false diversity, they're putting people in positions and it won't last. And he's making a beautiful point. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, yo, I hope you can create this and then leave it alone. Like, create these opportunities and you're creating them for other teachers also. Like, you're not the primary facilitator, because we don't see a lot of diversity coming out of your spectrum of writing. Like, I've been surprised by Shonda Rhimes' writing in the past and projects she's been involved in. It hadn't all been the same. I'm never really surprised. I've probably been surprised once by Tyler Perry, but not too often, And so, and if but outside of that, not really even wanting to, you got to see, I really need you to, this could be a different conversation if I wasn't trying to give you spoilers on this episode of Atlanta that just passed, but he doesn't have a pristine reputation within the community of making movies that are enjoyable for African-American males.
Yeah.
And really starting to be toward African-American people in general. But yet everything he makes and produces is giving a lot of Black actors and a lot of Black people a chance to be a part of the entertainment industry that we've never possibly would have had before. So,
but at what cost? And that cost we truly don't know at this time.
So this is a sub segment, because that has nothing to do with Blade, but on that whole point, we are starting to wake up as a people, that we're starting to be more aware of individuals who are capitalizing off of our pain, and we're starting to tend to be more irritated by them and less entertained by them. And I think one of the biggest cases in point has been Kanye West over the last 5 years. Don't want to get into a conversation about him like that, but you get what I'm saying. Like, we instantly, so the latest buffoonery that he's done, we already know what his agenda is. We already know that that all he's doing is poverty pimping or pain pimping. It's like, hey, the trauma of Black people, I will find a way to make it marketable. Whether it's when I make music, when I make soul music from a soul that hurts, and get them in at the beginning as my core fans, but then later on down the line, make money off. We're starting to see that and not participate in our own oppression as a people, as consumers.
I hope that's true. Like I said, I've never really been a big fan of Tyler Perry after just seeing a few of his films. And I think the issue was, at first it was just a technical skill that was throwing me off. But then, I figured he's doing his thing and he's trying, so I'm going to just back off of that, right? He's trying to do his thing. But then but even as the years went by, it seemed like he never really stepped up his game. It seemed like it was just consistently the same. Like, it didn't seem like he was necessarily growing as a director and stuff to me. And so, but as bad as that was to me, I didn't like his vision of us as black people. I think that bothered me more than anything, because it's like you're consistently saying this about men, this about, us and religion in a way. And I know it's not necessarily he does religious stuff, but it's interesting. It's inside trope stuff that we as black people would know. He's dog whistling in a different kind of way on level. So white people on the outside might see it as buffoonery. We might see it as relating, but almost don't say it out loud. And it's just on these different levels. It's just like, I don't like how you see us. It's like being with somebody who can't stand you and you don't know why, but they just don't like you. And so even when they hand you food, it tastes a little sour because they are not for you. Even when they're trying to do something for you, it doesn't taste right. It doesn't feel right.
I do think a lot of people sometimes make things out of their trauma, or they make their characters, they make who they are out of their childhood traumas and the rejection that they faced. And if he has faced that type of rejection, which it seems very evident, I don't know much about the depth of the story. He tends to tell portions of his story, but not that beginning part where maybe some of those questions are answered. Right. And you get to understand why sticking to his own lane seems to be, or his way of doing it, because you spoke to something that was really important about it's not a hypocrisy in what he's saying, right? But it's the concept of, like you said, you could watch his original things and you could see that there wasn't much depth and it missed in a lot of technical areas. And he was given the space to get better. And he's gotten better in other facets. I believe that what he's done is stick with what he thought worked for him and then abandon the things that didn't, which is a part of the maturing process. He didn't stick with and say, I'm going to get better at this. He just was like, I'm going to get rid of that and just move over to this other thing. And so, but he did it independently. And from his vantage point, he was able to create his own space. And now he's saying, I want to be able to I want to make sure that other people can have that space. But the problem with that is you don't get that from other people. You get that only really from yourself when you bet on yourself. It's very rarely that you could say, and he, to some extent, he got that because he knew people were going to go to his plays. So he can make a sucky movie because he still had income from the plays. He knew people were going to go to those. Right. And in fact, it got to the point where, remember, it was just, he was putting the plays out at the same time as the movie. So you could go to like your Red Box or something, or Blockbuster Box, and it would have like version. A Medea, and you thinking you're renting the new Medea movie, but you were just getting a play. And so he just, he played on the audience that he needed to. But I absolutely, to go to the other point you made when it comes to him is, I absolutely agree that he doesn't have the depth of understanding on us as a whole. And I think with the wealth that he has now, it may be too late for him to kind of survey that. And the reason why I say this is because I'm hearing you say you don't like the way, but I'm hearing a dude from Oakland more or less saying like, who has a more round, and this is certain pockets of the US where when you talk to a brother who's from those pockets or even live in those pockets, they have a more beautiful perspective on us as a people than people from other pockets. And this ain't no versus kind of thing, but I think if you talk to a brother from the South and you think about the way he may think about us as a people versus a guy from Oakland, it's going to be two different political point of views.
That's true.
It's going to be different ways that they were taught, educated in the church system and the community system. and you're gonna have a more beautiful, like, because I grew up in the Midwest South kind of area, and it took me to just travel and begin to overcome and to be also raised by products from those other worldly spaces.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I agree with you, man. Sometimes it's very troubling to see how he kind of portrays us, especially, you know, when he puts on the dress and he's the gun-toting grandma. And I had a sassy grandma, but that's a bit much. And then that's a whole nother conversation about even just putting on the dress in general.
Yeah. But like I said, he always reminded me of that, the girl you like and getting to know, and she's been through some stuff and she's looking at you funny and you just can't read it. But everything she said seemed to be, you know, kind of tainted. It's just like, whatever happened to you, I didn't do it to you. But it doesn't stop you from getting it.
Yeah, now he's an interesting character, but like maybe he should come in and direct Blade.
All right, so I guess you're ready to get off this conversation. I guess you're done. Okay, I can take your hint.
Like, all you had to say was bye. But you know,
oh goodness, I know that's a joke, not funny.
Yeah,
either.
no, it is. I, in no way, shape, form, or fashion, I suggest that.
I know.
I think that whether it comes from his studio, you know, like they're making Marvel movies on his, you know, at his studio. You know, he's already a part of this world or whatever. You never know what's going to come from, you know, from these different things. And definitely Tyler Perry not involved with Blade. But the reason why we got all the way to Tyler Perry to this is that there's so many young directors, older directors, so many African Americans who don't get a chance to tell a story and to tell stories about characters and tell them in a way that is free, one, of the black gaze and the white gaze. Right. Like, there is a black gaze, which I believe should be played to more and is worthy of having movies like the way we see the world. Mm-hmm. We should start telling stories from that perspective.
Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out past and future episodes of this show, along with my other shows entitled The Movie Bench Quarterbacking Podcast and The J and Podcast, available now on all streaming platforms. Until next time, peace.